Hey, it's Brad. So, cartels are interesting. Mobs and mafias, various varieties. I mean, in one way, it's kind of the cross of the necessary hardening of soldiers, like Spartans and any military, transforming. It's these men generally transforming their bodies into machines to serve their country or their cause, whatever it is, higher than them. There's, tons of layers just in that. America at least has been fascinated with soldiers and mobs in various forms for its entirety, and beyond that, independently. But with war, you have the concept of mutually assured destruction. If you have a dozen players in a theater, you have, it's all these different political currents pulling at each other, and I understand the appeal of that level of drama, but there's just too much arbitrariness to really make it feel like it's of any value, when the whole thing could be put in a much better form and have real harvestable value. But if there's kind of a neutral zone standoff, like Star Trek, you've got a couple different forces in an area, and they're all looking at each other, and nobody wants to make a move, because as soon as they do, they can't take on everybody at once. And if they make a move, then anybody that sees that's a huge opportunity, and draws attention for exploitation of that opportunity. And drawing attention, especially in the case of illegal warfare, that's obviously not what you want. But on the other side, where it ties together, and you have the soldiers and the business side, and businesses, they've often been likened to warring countries and making alliances and things. So it's a very tribal mindset still, but that's the concept is more of mutual benefit through kind of an expectation of self-interest on parts of all parties. And again, that's, you get kind of a Gordon Gekko world with that mindset. If you know everybody's out for themselves, then yeah, you can anticipate their behavior, but you end up with a zero-sum game at best, and in practice, far less than that. And any sort of a structure that's built on exploitation, just, eventually supply runs dry, or whoever is getting exploited gets sick of it and gets out from under a thumb, and then everything comes crashing down. But yeah, in between the soldier and business, you have the spiritual side of things, which is really interesting. That that's an element that we've generally lost as a culture in association with those things. We have the community aspect. A lot of these forms tend to serve at least some semblance of community. There's always a familial setting, even at the low-level street gangs. It's about being part of something bigger than yourself, especially for people that have been marginalized and feel like they don't have any way to be part of something or be of value to any cause. Then that's an easy way that they can sign up their entire life to serve a cause. But then the problem is that's putting your eggs in somebody else's basket. Your life is then worth only whatever their service is worth. And I feel like just kind of reorient, because the trope goes all the way to things like the sacred warrior sentinels in various tribal cultures, and the keepers of whatever plants or sacred knowledge or sacred flame or whatever it may be. They stand vigilant, and they're sacrificing a significant portion of their humanity in service of a spiritual cause. And the main way that differs in my mind is that, first of all, it's not about expectation of all these mortal players acting in their own self-interest. That can be anticipated, but if it's in service to a greater cause than that, then that anyone that is on that level gets it. And they understand that not only your life, but their life and everyone else's life isn't so much forfeit even as insignificant in the face of something like that. And that same message runs throughout, because it's, taking the sting out of death. But the way that they approach it is, a lot of times it comes from, situational necessity and opportunity, and how far someone's willing to go to do what they feel is what needs to be done, combined with what sort of mindset has been engendered in the people that are in those situations. If you create a entire culture of people that are wanting to overthrow everything, then whatever they're in is probably going to need to stay on its toes. But it's like there's a show that I was watching a few months ago called Into the Badlands. It's really interesting. It's kind of a not fantasy, not really sci-fi. It's post-apocalyptic and feudal style. So you've got these kingdoms. They're all kind of color-coded, so that's handy. But a bunch of badass sword and gun fighters on motorcycles, and ninjas all over the place. It's an interesting show, but the concept being that each of these areas has its ruler, and the peace is only held at bay by threat of constant bloodshed. And that's like being in a relationship that's full of power games. That's not a relationship. That's just a war. Why would someone want that? And so when, especially in nowadays culture, that's pretty much how it's pitched. That relationships are necessary for you to be fulfilled as a person, but at the same time, they need to be this absolute garbage mode of relationship that we're showing you is the right form. So let's keep doing that, because that's a good idea, huh? I just feel like if we just change the mindset on all of these and the orientation and get those right, then everything else falls into place nicely.